Mara Sarah. I am so happy you're here. You're listening to the My Felt Story podcast, your place for Torah stories. From Avraham Avinu to Moshe Rabbeinu, we learn how to love and serve Hashem and how to be kind to our fellow friends. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. This is the story of the Baal Shem Tov. In a small town in Poland, there lived Reb Eliezer and his wife Sarah. They loved having lots of guests in their home and would spend most of their money taking care of them. Every week they would invite a house full of guests for Shabbos. Reb Eliezer and Sarah were getting old, and they still didn't have any children. This made them very sad. One week, in the middle of the Shabbos meal, there was a loud knock at the door. All the guests looked at Reb Eliezer. Who could that be? They wondered. Reb Eliezer went to open the door and was surprised to see a stranger on his doorstep. He looked tired from traveling. "Good Shabbos, my fellow Jew," said Eliezer warmly. "Please come inside and join us for a Shabbos meal." Eliezer showed the man his seat and brought plates of delicious food from the kitchen. He sat next to his guest, talked to him, and made sure he was comfortable. The other guests were not sure if Reb Eliezer was supposed to serve someone who traveled on Shabbos. They whispered to each other, but Reb Eliezer just ignored all the mean comments. He felt it was important to take care of his guest, no matter how he decided to keep Shabbos. After Shabbos, Reb Eliezer told the guest he was welcome to stay the night and showed him to his room. The next day, Sarah packed food for his journey, and Reb Eliezer walked outside with this mysterious guest to say goodbye. After he walked with him a short distance, the stranger turned to Reb Eliezer and said, "I am not who I seem to be. I am Eliyahu Hanavi. I came to visit you and see how you would treat a stranger who travels on Shabbos. Because you treated me with kindness, you will be blessed with a son, a special neshama, who will help prepare the world for Mashiach." Reb Eliezer was overjoyed when he heard the words of Eliyahu Hanavi. He waited so long for a child, and now finally he would have a son. Reb Eliezer was 100 years old, and Sarah was 90 years old when they finally gave birth to a little baby boy. He was born on Chai Elul, the 18th day of Elul, and they called him Yisroel. Does Reb Eliezer and Sarah remind you of anyone? Their loving kindness, open home full of guests, and having a baby at 190 years old? Can you think of another special couple that's similar? Yes, it also reminds me of Avraham and Sarah from our Parsha story. When little Yisroel was 5 years old, Reb Eliezer was very old, and it was time for his neshama to go back to Hashem. Before his neshama left his body, he called little Yisroel to his bedside, and he said, "My neshama is going back to Hashem, but I want you to remember these words, dear Yisroelik. Don't be afraid of anything besides for Hashem, and love every Jew with all your heart." Little Yisroel listened carefully to his father's words. They stayed with him for his whole life. After his father passed away, he went with his mother every day to say Kaddish. Kaddish is a special tefillah a person says when their parent passes away. As soon as little Yisroel finished saying Kaddish for his father, his mother passed away, and Yisroel was now an orphan. He didn't have a mother or a father to look after him. The Jewish community in his town took care of little Yisroelik and made sure he had a place to sleep, food to eat, and clothes to wear. He slept in a house with other orphans. But Yisroel wasn't used to all the noise and fighting. He really missed his mummy and his tati and his home that was full of love and holiness. After Cheder one day, Yisroel wandered into the great deep forest that surrounded the village. He sat by a stream of clear water and enjoyed listening to the sound of it flowing past. He listened to the chirping birds and rustling leaves. He watched the insects buzz around him, as well as the gentle deer graze on the grass. Yisroel felt close to Hashem in the forest. He felt relaxed and safe away from the bustling of the town. He reviewed the things he learned at Cheder and poured his heart out to his Creator. It started to get dark when he heard the sounds of animals. He didn't know which animals were nearby, but he remembered the words of his father. Don't fear anything besides for Hashem. And Yisroel knew there was nothing to be afraid of. He lay his head down on the ground and peacefully drifted to sleep. The next morning, he walked back to the village to go to Cheder and saw people look at him with worried faces. "Where were you?" they asked. "I was in the forest," Yisroel replied. "What did you eat?" "I found berries and drank water from a brook." "You weren't afraid?" "My father told me before he passed away not to fear anything besides for Hashem." The people in the village didn't understand how such a little boy could be so brave. Yisroel would go to the forest every day. It was his favorite place in the whole world, where he felt most safe and close to Hashem. One day, when Yisroel was wandering in the forest, he heard a voice coming from deep in the forest. He went towards the sound. As he moved closer, he came across an amazing sight. There in the forest was a man wrapped in talis and tefillin, standing by a tree davening with great kavanah. His eyes were closed, and he was swaying and singing, and his face was shining. Yisroel's heart expanded with delight. This was exactly how his father would daven, and he hadn't seen his father for such a long time. Yisroel sat behind a tree so he could watch. He watched with admiration and awe how this man davened. He listened to the sounds of the words and to the tunes he sang with so much love. After he finished davening, he opened a sefer and began studying with zeal and joy. Then he took a hard piece of bread out of his sack. He went to the river to wash his hands for hamotzi and dipped the bread into the water. After he ate, he benched, put his satchel over his shoulder, and started going on his way. Right then, little Yisroel sprung out of his hiding place and ran towards the man. "Shalom Aleichem," he said to the man. When the man saw him, he was a little startled. What is a small child doing in the forest all alone? "I like the forest," said Yisroel. "You do?" said the man. "Why is that?" "Well, in the forest there's no fighting or mean words. I feel close to Hashem here. My father told me before he passed away not to fear anything besides for Hashem, creator of heaven and earth." The man asked him, "Are you by any chance the son of Reb Eliezer?" Yisroel's heart lit up. How did he know my father? He wondered. "Yes, I am," he nodded. The man smiled and motioned for Yisroel to come sit next to him on a log. He took out a sefer from his sack and learned with Yisroel right there surrounded by the tall trees. They learned for a while. When they finished, the man asked Yisroel, "Would you like to come and join me on my travels?" These were the happiest words Yisroel had ever heard. "Yes," he said. Yisroel wanted very much to stay with this holy man. And so, Yisroel set off and joined the mysterious man on his travels. Yisroel didn't know where they were going, or even the name of the tzaddik he was traveling with. After traveling for a while, they would stop in a town or village. Sometimes they would stay for a few days, sometimes for a week or even longer. They would go to the shul in town and sleep on the wooden bench. The only food they ate was bread and water. When the shul was empty, the man would learn with Yisroel. Yisroel loved learning and didn't mind sleeping on a hard bench and only eating bread and water. Sometimes people would make fun of Yisroel and the tzaddik. They would say unkind words, thinking they were poor beggars. But Yisroel and the tzaddik didn't mind. Their hearts were warm with love for Hashem and His Torah. One day, after months of travel, they arrived in a small town. "We're going to the tzaddik Reb Meir, who lives and works in the forest. He earns his living by boiling tree roots and making tar. Every day he goes into town to daven, but the people in town have no idea that he's a tzaddik. They think of him as a simple oven maker." They walked toward a simple shack surrounded by many trees and overgrown plants. Reb Meir opened the door and greeted Yisroel warmly, as if he were expecting him. Reb Meir took Yisroel's hand and brought him inside. Then they waved goodbye to the mysterious tzaddik. As he walked away to the next town, Yisroel felt a wave of gratitude for everything he had learned with him. Yisroel was overjoyed when Reb Meir invited him to learn with him. Reb Meir guided him in his learning and taught him how to serve Hashem. Even though Yisroel was a young boy, he absorbed everything he was taught. Yisroel noticed something interesting in Reb Meir's house. He saw people come to deliver or pick up a package. Reb Meir belonged to a group of hidden tzaddikim. They would pretend to be simple woodchoppers or shoemakers, but really they knew a lot of Torah and were very holy people. Reb Meir's house was a special place where many tzaddikim nistarim would come and go. Some would drop off money and others would pick it up. Some left messages and others received them. They would have meetings in Reb Meir's house where they would talk about plans of how to help their Jewish brothers and sisters. Many times, a Jewish family didn't have enough money to pay their rent, so the landlord would throw them into a pit. The tzaddikim would find out where there was a Jew in trouble and then collect money to help them out. They would send someone with money to redeem the Jewish family so they could come out of the pit. But Yisroel noticed that saving the families from the pits wasn't helping to stop the problem. It just kept happening. And he had some ideas, and he wanted to help. He had to wait until his bar mitzvah before he could share his ideas. Finally, on Chai Elul, on Yisroel's 13th birthday, he was now old enough to join and become a member of this holy group. At the next meeting, Yisroel stood up and shared his idea of how to help improve the lives of the Jewish people. He explained that the first step was to help the Jews have a good parnasa, a good livelihood. If they had enough money, they wouldn't get thrown into pits. He shared his plan to encourage people to move out of the Jewish villages. Even though they may have felt safer being all together, it didn't allow for many jobs. Yisroel explained that if people moved to new places, there would be more jobs. Everyone in the meeting liked Yisroel's idea. They acted on Yisroel's idea and went around and encouraged people to move and start businesses. They would give people loans of money to help them start businesses if they needed. Yisroel's idea was a good one. It was the first step to helping the Jewish people. In the nearby town of Brody, Yisroel was hired as a teacher's assistant. His job was to walk the little children to and from Cheder. On the way, he would sing songs of davening with them, like Torah Tziva and Shema, and also songs from Tehillim. At recess, he would tell them stories from the Torah. Yisroel loved the little children with all of his heart. He would kiss the children on their foreheads with tremendous love before he would bring them back to their homes. Yisroel knew how precious the little children were. He was so happy to be with them. In the same town of Brody, there lived a local innkeeper, Aaron Shlomo, who could barely read or understand the meaning of the words of davening. When he was a little boy, his mummy and tati didn't have enough money, so instead of going to Cheder to learn, he had to go and work. Now, he was an adult and he still couldn't read or learn very well. There were many people like Aaron Shlomo who didn't know how to read or learn very well. The people who knew a lot of Torah thought they were much better and much greater than the ones who didn't know. They would make fun of them and not treat them kindly. Aaron Shlomo, although unlearned, loved Hashem with all of his heart, and whenever he could, he would say, Baruch Hu la'olam va'ed, which means bless Hashem forever and ever. And his wife, Zlata Rivka, would say, Yishtabach Shimcha la'ad, praise the holy name of Hashem. No one thought that was anything special. One Chai Elul, when it was Yisroel's 16th birthday, he decided to go out to the field to be alone, so he could have time to daven and meditate and be close to Hashem. He read Tehillim with special kavanah and pondered the holy names of Hashem like he learned from his holy teachers. He was so engrossed in concentration that he didn't notice that Eliyahu Hanavi was standing right next to him, and there was a big smile on his face. Yisroel was surprised. He only had seen Eliyahu Hanavi with the other hidden tzaddikim at the meetings, but never on his own. I wonder what the reason for Eliyahu Hanavi's visit is, and why is Eliyahu Hanavi smiling? As if reading his mind, Eliyahu Hanavi said, You are working hard to think about the names of Hashem. Meanwhile, Aaron Shlomo, the innkeeper, and his wife Zlata Rivka have no understanding of these holy names. But when they say Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemai, and Yishtabach Shimcha la'ad, their words cause the heavens to rejoice in a bigger way than the holy words you learned from your teachers. Eliyahu Hanavi explained how much pleasure Hashem gets from the words of gratitude and praise said by men, women, and children when they say it with pure emunah and love and whole heart. Yisroel had never heard of such a thing. He was blown away. He never thought the innkeeper's simple praise of Hashem could have so much importance. These words made a big impression on Yisroel. From then on, wherever he went, he would ask people, How are you? How is your family? How is your health? How is your parnasa? And with each answer, Baruch Hashem, he knew it was causing so much happiness and joy in the heavenly realms. When Yisroel went to the next conference for the hidden tzaddikim, he was so excited to talk about his meeting with Eliyahu Hanavi and what he had learned. The other tzaddikim loved what Yisroel said. They realized how precious every Jew is no matter how much Torah they know. And from then on, they went around encouraging the simple Jews and telling them that Hashem loves them so, so much. Even though Yisroel knew so much Torah and was respected in the circle of the hidden tzaddikim, he preferred to keep this hidden from the rest of the world. He would dress up as a simple workman and go to the marketplace. A group of simple Jews would gather as he would share uplifting stories from the Talmud. Each story brought hope to the people and the knowing that Hashem loves each of them so much. When Rabbi Yisroel got married to Chana, his family didn't even know the truth about him. They thought he was simple and didn't know any Torah. His prestigious brother-in-law, Rabbi Gershon, was embarrassed that an ignorant person was married to his sister. Rabbi Yisroel and Chana decided to move to the mountains, where he could spend his time learning and serving Hashem amongst the spectacular views. They earned a living by mining clay. Some local villagers taught Rabbi Yisroel how to use plants to heal bulbus and other illnesses. People started calling Rabbi Yisroel a Baal Shem. A Baal Shem is given to someone who can heal people. But Rabbi Yisroel wasn't an ordinary healer. He loved helping people heal their bodies, but mostly he loved helping people heal their neshamas. So he got the name Rabbi Yisroel Baal Shem Tov. One night, a holy man with streaming light from his face came to visit Rabbi Yisroel in a dream. He told him to come to a cave and he would teach him the secrets of the Torah. This holy man was Achia Hashiloni. He was the teacher of Moshe Rabbeinu, David HaMelech, and Eliyahu Hanavi. For many years, he learned the deepest secrets of creation, like what they learn in Gan Eden. It was so pleasurable for Rabbi Yisroel to learn with Achia Hashiloni. After 10 years, when Rabbi Yisroel turned 36, it was time to start teaching his way of loving and serving Hashem with the world. He couldn't stay hidden anymore. Some people weren't sure about this new approach. They weren't used to the idea that simple people are precious to Hashem. They believed the more Torah you knew, the greater you are. As time went on, people started realizing that Rabbi Yisroel Baal Shem Tov was a holy man, and his way of serving Hashem was very special indeed. But most importantly, Rabbi Yisroel Baal Shem Tov taught a new way in serving Hashem. He taught us that loving Hashem with a pure heart is what counts the most.
And that's it for today, friends. I hope you enjoyed the story. Sending you lots of love until next time.